Hi everyone, welcome to my July favorites. It's somehow August, which means it's time for me to start panicking about all of the fun summer things that I haven't had a chance to do yet and thoroughly overbook myself, which is something that happens every year around this time. Summer's my favorite season, so when I start to see the end of the season, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go to the beach, I need to go to the pool, I need to spend more time outside. I don't know about you, but I'm like, I just need to soak up every last bit of summer. So a lot of my favorites this month are very summer-centric, whether that's in terms of skincare or color story or texture and formulas that I'm into right now. You're going to see that as a theme throughout everything I used this month. Personally, I feel like July was a very, very good month for makeup. I tried a lot of new makeup that I loved, so I'm going to start there. The first thing is actually more of a technique than a particular product. It's not necessarily product specific, but that is applying primer before my SPF and foundation. I mean, usually I apply primer after my SPF. I'll do my skincare routine, do my SPF, then primer if I use it, then foundation. But lately I have actually found that using my primer under my sunscreen, I don't know what it does. It just gives it a little bit more time to sink into the skin. And the key here is also, of course, waiting for your SPF to set on top of your primer. You don't want to go straight in with foundation because you want your SPF to create and set a really even base over your skin. So for example, I've been using my Sisley Double Tensor, which you know I've been loving, then my Sunteak SPF. And somehow I think the slight grippiness of this primer really works well to hold on to the SPF, and it feels like I'm getting, I don't know if this is scientifically true, but it feels like I'm getting a really nice even coverage of sunscreen. And then I go in with my foundation after that. So I think this is a technique that works with many different kinds of products, but it works especially well with a grippy primer like the Sisley Double Tensor or the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. Those are two that I've been using kind of interchangeably. For foundation, I have been loving the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. I mentioned this in my review of it when I tested it on camera in a video, but I always thought this would be too dewy for me, but there's something about this that is luminous, but it doesn't slide around, it doesn't break up, and it doesn't cake up throughout the day. It just leaves my skin looking really creamy, almost like I've just applied skincare, but without the tacky finish. It's not sticky on my skin, and it is a thicker texture, but somehow it just leaves my skin feeling really plumped up and moisturized. I've actually really been enjoying applying this with fingers. I think it's because it is that heavier, richer texture. I kind of like mushing it into my skin with my fingers. And I do think the warmth of my fingers sort of helps the formula spread out on my skin, but it doesn't ever get streaky, it doesn't get, patchy, it doesn't pill up or do anything weird with any of the primers or skincare or sunscreen that I've used. So it's just been super reliable. I use the shade number 6, which is a really good match for me, especially after I use bronzer and sort of warm it up a little bit. But yeah, it's just been lovely. And it's so travel friendly because it comes in a tube with a pump. I always say this is my favorite kind of packaging because it's mess free and it's lightweight. And I did travel with this month and it was not an issue at all. Didn't add too much weight to my makeup bag. It's just an all-around win in my opinion. For concealer, I've still been loving my Dior Backstage, and I actually just repurchased my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. This is an unsung hero in my makeup routine. I use it all the time for blemish coverage, especially for pigmentation around the face and jawline. For me, that's where I have the most pigmentation and redness in my skin, and this works beautifully if I take a small brush like this to spot conceal any particular areas of pigmentation, Or I even use a fluffy brush and sweep it around larger planes of my face if I want a more diffused application. But it's just so adjustable. I use the shade Custard. I will probably be using Ginger the next month because I just know I'm gonna get tanner, and Custard is right on the verge of being a little bit light for me. You could use this under the eyes. It's a very flexible formula, even though it's soft matte, especially if you use a finger and warm it up. It's not necessarily my preference, but I know people who like really high coverage under the eyes and love this for that purpose. But this is a formula I just rely on and I can't be without. I lost this in my collection somewhere over the last few weeks, and I wanted to see if I could live without it, but turns out I really can't because there's nothing else that does what this does in my collection. For powders, I have two new loves that I just recently tested in a video. The first is the Fit Glow Beauty Loose Blurring, Instantly Blurring Bamboo Hyaluronic Loose Setting Powder. Long name. This is a white loose powder. It comes with a cap. Oh geez, I forgot to close it, but you can and you should close the cap. You just like twist to close it. But this powder is truly, truly lightweight. I mean, you don't see it on the skin, you don't feel it on the skin, it doesn't feel heavy, and yet it gives you the most ridiculous pore blurring appearance. And it really doesn't take a lot to do that. I'm so impressed by this. I love it especially for the face. I do like it on the under eyes, but I find it especially useful for the T-zone or setting areas of concealer. And I just take a fluffy brush like this one and I just kind of pat around my face. I personally don't like to set my cheeks, especially if I'm using cream makeup, but around the other planes of my face, this just makes makeup totally budge proof and it knocks back shine, and I can't say enough good things about it. For the under eye, I have finally tried a powder that has been around for years and years and years, and it's the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder in the shade number 2 medium. I personally like a loose powder around my face, but for the under eye, this is really nice because it does have a blurring quality to it, but it also has a very slight tint. And so I find that it makes the under eyes look really seamless and like just kind of flattened out in a way. And of course it's called the Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. It does give you that airbrushed look under the eyes. And I've also liked this for touch-ups because if my concealer starts to fade or there's anything weird going on, I find this powder just adds the slightest bit of filtering under the eyes. And so I've really enjoyed it for that. And also when you add a light layer of this powder over your concealer and like blend it down into your foundation, it gives me a super seamless blend. And even though I'm not the kind of person that uses a super bright concealer under the eyes, I like a generally same tone on my face, I find that it just gives a really seamless look. There's no patchiness, there's no weird blending issues, and I'm just really happy with this. I don't have the most defined under eye bags or wrinkles, so I can't really speak to whether this creases under the eyes, but you know, people love it for under the eyes, people of all ages, all skin types. So I think it's just one of the best out there for a good reason. Let's talk about cream and liquid blushes because this was truly a month of blushes. I found so many good formulas. The one I'm wearing on my cheeks now, where is it? Oh, here it is. The one I'm wearing on my cheeks now is the Victoria Beckham Beauty Cheeky Posh Blush Stick in the shade Fever, which is a newer shade from them. And of course, it's like this beautiful, bright, orangey red. You saw me do a review of Victoria Beckham Beauty's shade extensions, their glosses, and their highlighter stick. I think that was it. So it was like a part 2 brand review that I'll link below. And I did review this formula, which is one I already love. This is the shade Fever. It's obviously a bright orangey red. On me and my skin tone, it just blends out to the most beautiful, like sun-kissed, burnt orangey red. But of course it still has that pop of brightness. It's just such a happy blush. And I feel like on my undertones, it's super flattering. This is a really, really long wearing cream blush formula. It's waterproof and it doesn't break down. It doesn't get tacky or sticky or move around. It stays vibrant all day on the cheeks. So it's truly one of my favorite formulas. And now I have a new favorite shade in this formula as well. I've also been loving the Chantecaille Cheek Gelée in the shade Vibrant, and this is a different kind of shade for me because it is that cool toned, almost like berry raspberry sort of pink. But there's something specifically about the shade with this formula that creates a beautiful watercolor flush of vibrant pink across the cheeks. So I think it is really well named. The shade is called Vibrant. I did work with Chantecaille this last month and I discovered this shade. I have also used this in the shade Lively, which is a beautiful like coral, I think. And there's another shade of this that I love, but specifically this shade Vibrant really surprised me, and it made me realize like, oh, maybe I actually do like wearing raspberry tones and that like punchy pop of color on the cheeks, especially in the summer. I have to include the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Blush formula, specifically the shade Intense Coral. It is so beautiful for another like sunburned, rusty, but still bright coral cheek. I did a dedicated review to this at the beginning of the month when I first received it because it completely blew my expectations out of the water. I thought this was going to be kind of sheer, more of a soft wash of color, but these are surprisingly and shockingly pigmented. It just takes one dot of product to create the most beautiful lit from within kind of flush. This is a formula that's a watery serum with pigment capsules. So I find it best when you actually burst the pigment capsules on the back of your hand, kind of warm up the product, and then either tap it on your cheeks with a finger or with a brush. Even though this is a watery formula, like a serum-y formula, it actually does set down on the skin. It doesn't feel sticky or tacky throughout the day. It's very thin and it creates this almost like thin glaze appearance over your cheeks without actually feeling sticky. So I find this reflects a lot of light. It looks very luminous on the cheeks without being heavy or creamy or gluey or sticky on the cheeks. And it's just truly a unique and new kind of makeup formula, especially for liquid blushes. So obviously that's a high-end product. On the low end, still just as beautiful, is the half-caked In-Sync liquid blush formula. I think these are like $12. I haven't seen many people talk about them, but these are so good. So it has like a little paint tube kind of packaging. I do find half-caked makeup packaging to be a little bit like girly and juvenile, even though the formulas are seriously robust and so good. So this is the shade Brown Sugar. I think I did demo these in a video. If I can find it, I'll include the cutaways here. But this starts out as a really pigmented, almost paint sort of texture, but these are so beautiful. They blend out beautifully on the cheeks, and they give you a really sturdy cream blush. Like, they don't move around, they set down, and they're very buildable, but they also apply really evenly. See how even just that little swatch right there took no effort to create a super even blend across the hand. And they have pinks, they have peaches. I love this shade Brown Sugar for a terracotta kind of blush, but I just haven't seen anyone talk about these, and I think they're so, so good and really easy to use. I don't typically love when cream blushes come in, you know, like a tube. I find it actually takes a little bit of extra work to get them on the cheeks, but with these, they're so easy to use that I don't mind it. And then lastly, I have to mention the Axiology Lip to Lid Balmies. I just tested these in a new video, but they sent over all of their shades. But basically what impressed me about these is that they're not just good for low-waist makeup, they're just good, period. And it's also great that they happen to be low waist. They don't use any plastic. They don't use any additional packaging beyond the paper box and the paper wrapping, but they deliver on pigmentation, on performance, on shade range, on undertones, a range of light to deep. They deliver on every front. My favorite way to use these, which I demoed in that video, is to take a brush and sweep it across the surface of the stick and then stipple it onto the cheeks. You could also swipe on directly or tap on with your fingers, but for me, I find I get the quickest and most diffused application that way. These also work on the eyelids. They are a little bit emollient for me personally and my preference, but you can use them that way, and you can also use them on the lips. I am just super impressed. I think they are showing us that you can do low waste beauty without compromising on formula, on pigment, or performance. So that is peach, that's cinnamon, and that is caramel. And I think you can see even the way the light is reflecting off the surface of the swatches that they do have a slightly balmy quality, but they're not so emollient that they're like tacky on the cheeks at all. As you can tell, I don't like sticky blushes, but these have just enough creaminess to spread evenly across the skin during application, but then they set down and they don't move around, they don't get sticky, your hair doesn't stick to your cheeks, they just have a perfect natural finish. For bronzer, I'm still loving my Makeup by Mario Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade medium. That's what I'm wearing today. But the newest cream cheek product, or cream bronzer that I've been using, is the Patrick Ta Duo in She's Sculpted. I especially love this for the cream contour. It's a perfect shade for my skin tone that gives me a bit of definition without making me look ashy the way a lot of contours can be if they're too gray. So I'm not wearing it today, but I have been using it and turning to it for that reason. The bronzer is really lovely too. It's kind of this like sheer, beautiful, easy to use bronzer. I do think the contour is what draws me more to this palette personally. I would love to have the contour in a single, but it's nice to have both, obviously, in one compact if you're traveling, if you just want a one and done palette for contour and bronzer. And it comes in 3 shades. There's a light, there's a medium, which is what I'm using, and there's a deeper shade after this one. For highlighter, I have 2 very different formulas. So the first one is Merit Citrine, which is their Day Glow like highlighter balm formula. This one is right on the edge of being a little bit too emollient for me, but the shine that this creates is so beautiful that I'm willing to put up with it. So this is the highlighting stick. It looks like that. Citrine, I think, is a newer shade. I don't have any of the older shades. They just sent this over to me, but it has that beautiful, like glossy, glazed formula. I like this because it doesn't have any glitter particles. It does have a slight pearlescence, but it doesn't have visible glitter across the cheeks. And I find that the best way to apply this is actually to take a little bit with my fingers or a very diffused brush and just kind of tap it across the cheeks. The other highlighter is very blingy, and I don't often go for a super blingy highlighter these days, but you know, sometimes you just need a bronze cheek and a golden highlighter, and that's when I've been using this. This is the Chantecaille Liquid Lumiere in the shade, what's this called? Brilliance. So this is a liquid highlighter. It has a similar gelée formula to their blush that I showed you a little while ago, but this is like, I mean, it's a little bit metallic even, but there's something about how smooth and like, just reflective, and I don't know, there's like this undertone of a slight peachiness. There's like a little bit of warmth in it that I find to be super flattering. This is obviously a very detectable highlighter. You could sheer it out with a sponge, but I feel like the glossiness and that shine is really why you would turn to a formula like this. And again, this is super refined. There are no glitter particles. It just gives you like pure gloss across the skin. For eyeshadow, I've been keeping it pretty simple this month. Last month I mentioned the About Face matte fluid eye paints, especially in the shade gosh, I can never remember what it's called, but it's their Vibrant Lime Green shade. This month, I've been really into the shade Capulets, which is this like taupey brownie rose. I have it on as a base right now under the sparkly eyeshadow that I'm wearing, but this is just a beautiful formula for like a little bit of something on the eyes. That's Capulets, and it blends out super evenly if you just want a wash of color, or you can do something more graphic and dramatic. The shade Capulets is such a complex shade for what it is. It has these like taupey undertones, a little bit of mauvey undertones as well, but it doesn't make me look dead. There's still like even a touch of like camely warmth in there. So that's how it blends out. And even as it shears out, it just maintains the softest, most even diffused blend. There's no harsh edges. And then when it sets down, it really sets down. And I also find it's a great base for any other eyeshadows that you put on top of it. What I'm wearing on my eyes now, and one of my all-time favorite one and done eyeshadows, is the Bodyography Glitter Eye Pigment in the shade Celestial. So big news, Bodyography is now on Target.com. I don't know if they're in stores, but they're on Target.com, which is so exciting because previously they've only been really available on their website. I think their pressed glitter eye pigments are to die for. They have, bright colors as well as, nudie colors, browns, golds, silvers. This shade, Celestial, has been my favorite for years now. So it comes in a little pot. You open it up and it has the little stopper. And this is the shade Celestial. This is, tell me that's not the most beautiful, like wet looking sheen, especially when you really build it up. So it has that like rosy undertone, but the reflect is like a golden champagne. And the contrast between the reflect and that base, I feel like creates the most reflective, dimensional, beautiful shine. But it's also not like a yellowy gold. It really is a neutral champagne. So for me, this is something that goes with like every kind of makeup look that I like to do. I really like this applied with fingers the best, just because I find that it helps you pack the color really on there. But I also blend it out and apply it with a brush too. So it just depends, what you want to do. My other eye-related favorite is my lash lift. So I just got a lash lift and tint done at Blink Bar here in LA a couple of days ago. And I really didn't know that a lash lift could make such a big difference in my life. Blink Bar has invited me in to have a lash lift a couple of times now, and it's been such a game changer for me. I always thought that because I have such short, fine lashes that I wouldn't really see much of a difference with a lash lift, but actually the difference is huge because my lashes are so fine and short. So first of all, I wake up with curled lashes, which is amazing. It lasts 4 to 6 weeks. For some people, it lasts up to 8 weeks. It just depends on how you care for your lashes, if you use a serum, all of that. But not having to curl my lashes every single time I apply makeup has made my lashes so much healthier because I'm not putting that manual stress of curling them every single day. You sometimes lose lashes when you're curling really hard and pressing that hard, and not having to do that makes my lashes overall healthier and fuller. I also find that because my lashes are curled, then I don't have to use as much waterproof mascara or as much mascara primer, and that makes makeup removal so much easier. So because I'm not rubbing to get the makeup off, I am also not losing as many lashes. And of course, I use great cleansing balms, micellar water, whatever. But regardless, with tougher mascaras to remove, you do lose lashes. So overall, my lash health is so much healthier. And this time I got a lash tint done for the first time, and I asked the technician, I have dark hair, is it gonna make much of a difference for me? And she actually explained it really well to me. She said that the natural tone of my lashes is a warm brown, and the tint actually makes them a cool toned brown or a cool toned black. So they're going to have more definition, even if it's just a little bit of definition across the lash line. That cool tone pops across, like against the skin and against your eyes a little bit better. And I did notice that. So you're not gonna see it, obviously, because I have mascara on. This is my lashes now with no lash curling, no mascara primer. I'm wearing the Bare Minerals Maximist mascara. And I find that I'm even able to use like bigger mascara brushes, more voluminizing mascara formulas, because I'm not worried about my lashes dropping. So I just have to tell you, like, the difference is relative, but I've only ever had my eyelashes. I only know what my lashes are like. And to me, this is like a huge difference in my life. So I just can't speak highly enough. And I get a lot of questions about lash lifts, especially from other Asian people who feel the struggle, and it has made a huge difference in my life. And it also just like shortens my mascara application by like half, which I'll take any day. So here's what my mascara and my lashes look like with just the mascara on top of my tinted lashes and lash lift. All right, wrapping up makeup with lip products, I have the Natasha Denona I Need a Rose lip crayon in the shade Calla. So that's a swatch of it. It's a really beautiful, like taupey brown rose, but there's also like a hair, tiny hair of mauviness to it that kind of fills a gap, I think, in my lip liner collection. Today I'm wearing my Victoria Beckham No. 2 lip liner. This is much more matte, whereas the Natasha Denona one is a gel. So it has that kind of shinier finish, whereas the Victoria Beckham Beauty one is like a wooden pencil, and you can see that's like straight up matte. But they're both super long lasting, and the Natasha Denona one for a gel liner did not budge. Usually I find that the pencil liners are the longest lasting, but this one lasts just as long and just as well through eating and drinking. For more Victoria Beckham, I also reviewed their new shade of their Bitten Lip Tint in the shade Poupette, which is a beautiful, like, peachy melon. This is definitely the lightest shade of their formula that they've come out with. So if you're not familiar, this is more of a gel tint, and it is sheer, it has a bit of shine, and then it sets down to like a natural lip finish. This is a formula that's not inherently like balmy or nourishing or hydrating, so I would exfoliate your lips before this, but it also doesn't like sink into lip lines or do anything weird. It just gives you a really beautiful like sheer stain tint over your lips, and I really love this shade Poupette for summer. Speaking of sheer lip products, this is something very different, but Rouge came out with these balm formulas. These are like a matte tinted balm. Look how luxe these are, so stunning. They came out with 3 different shades, so there's like a nudie brown, a cherry red, and a berry. So here are swatches, these 3 on the end. This is BB, it's like a beige rose. This is Shoo Shoo, which is that cherry red, and this is Sherry, which is a berry. They're called a balm, but I think they're closer to like the Gucci sheer lipsticks, even the Merit signature lightweight lipsticks. They are like a sheer translucent lip color, but they're not your like melty, creamy, traditional balm formula. That's why I think they're closer to like a sheer lipstick than they are to what we typically think of as a tinted balm. But these tones are so beautiful. I've worn all 3 of these like consistently since I received them. And because they're sheer, they are very forgiving. They create a beautiful like blurred lip line, and they fade evenly. They don't do any weird sinking into lip lines. And of course the packaging is so luxe and beautiful, has that like fluted gold component with the logo. It's the kind of formula that I always say is a great lipstick for people who don't like lipstick, because it is sheer and forgiving and creates that beautiful like pouty lip look. And then what's on my lips is, on top of the Victoria Beckham Beauty liner, is the Armani Lip Power. And they sent over a few of these shades and I've loved all of them. Currently I'm wearing a base of 206, which is like this beautiful Brick Red. And then in the middle of my lips, I'm using 109, which is the perfect like neutral rose shade. So I have a bit of a dimensional lip look today. The one that I've been wearing the most is the shade 110, and I included this in my favorite lipsticks video, which was the last video I posted, I think. This one is kind of like the perfect in between of these two shades. It has a bit of orange, it has a bit of burntness to it. I'll just apply this on top actually. It's just the most beautiful, like face brightening, warm toned shade. So of course I love that. And then the last swatch right here is a bright like cherry pink, and that is the shade 507. So these are all like traditional cream lipsticks, but they have the longest wear time. I don't know how they do it because it's not even a matte lipstick, but they last so long, and it's an incredible lipstick formula. All right, so that's it for the makeup. It was a great month for makeup. I'm very excited about all of these new discoveries. Let's talk about skincare. I reviewed a lot of skincare in my last empties/speed reviews video, so I'm gonna keep it brief. One thing I didn't mention in that video was the Holy Frog Utopia Microflora Toner. So the main ingredient in this is hypochlorous acid, which is really great for calming the skin, especially eczema-prone skin. So if you've used the Tower 28 SOS mist, that's the active ingredient, or like the main ingredient in that mist. This is a toner that includes hypochlorous acid. It is very fluid. I don't know if that does much for you, but it's super hydrating. It's very fluid and watery. It sinks in like instantly. I've used it in the morning as well as in the evening. And as someone with combo skin, I still want a lot of hydration, but I don't want heaviness. So layering something like a hydrating toner into my routine is perfect for that. So this is very much in that school of like K-beauty, watery essences and toners, but I do like the addition of hypochlorous acid, and I really like Holy Frog in general. I think their products are very well formulated. This was in my 2021 skincare favorites, and I emptied it. I haven't had it for months, and now it's back in my life, and I'm so happy it is. This is the U Beauty Super Hydrator. There's really nothing else comparable exactly to this still that I've tried. So they call this a moisturizer. To me, this is almost like a milky, creamy emulsion. So it comes out as a very white, kind of thick liquid, and then it just sinks into the skin like butter. See, that's all it took. Like you would think based on the thickness that it would require like blending in and some time to sink in as a cream, but because this has this like fluidity, my skin just like drinks it up, and I don't know exactly how it works. There's almost this like emollients and like waxiness to it, but then it just like absorbs. It is scented. It has a notable like floral scent. Fragrance doesn't really bother me on my skin, so I'm okay with that. But I love layering this under my moisturizer at night, especially if I'm using tretinoin or other actives. I really love to seal in my nighttime routine with this and then a richer moisturizer on top. And it's just the most beautiful, like barrier boosting product. You guys know I've been loving the In Beauty Project skincare, and this is the 10+10 moisturizer. And I've been loving this as both a daytime and nighttime moisturizer, but especially in the daytime. So it comes as a jar, and you know, I thought this was going to be pretty heavy, but there's actually something about this that really sinks into the skin and preps my skin nicely for makeup. It's not too emollient, but it does make my skin feel nice and strong and bouncy. It also includes a 10% peptide complex for anti-aging, a 10% vitamin C complex, as well as ceramides. So I always use this on top of my usual vitamin C, but I love the inclusion of the ceramides in here. Again, I love ceramides. They help strengthen your skin. Your skin needs them. And this has just been a really nice, like silky feeling moisturizer, especially for the daytime, but you could definitely use it in the nighttime as well. Closing it out with some body stuff, I have been loving my Soft Services products. So they sent over pretty much their whole line of products. I've been slowly incorporating them into my routine. So these are the 3 that I have been testing so far. The first is the Clearing Mist Medicated Breakout Tonic for the body. And this is a 1% salicylic acid acne treatment. If you have body acne, which I feel like we don't talk about enough, if you have backne, chest breakouts, other body breakouts, try this. It includes the 1% salicylic acid, which is a BHA, which helps with acne treatment, but it also includes zinc PCA, as well as 5% niacinamide. So the niacinamide is going to help brighten and create a more even skin tone if you have any pigmentation, patchiness. And the zinc PCA, I find, really helps with healing breakouts more quickly. So this is just an incredible body spray. It's like packed with beautiful ingredients that are often reserved for your face. But if you have body acne, you need these ingredients for your body too. And then I've been using these 2, which are non-active, but so beautiful. So the first thing I opened was the Speed Soak. It's called the Skin Rehydrating Gel. This includes 6% glycerin as well as 3% Aquoxyl. I think that's their proprietary like hydrating blend, but it's a lightweight gel that doesn't leave behind like tackiness. So if you don't like the feeling of body lotion, but you need hydration, this would be great for you because the gel spreads out really easily and then it absorbs, and it's like still enough hydration for me as someone who loves body creams and body lotions. If you do like a body lotion, the Caria cream is beautiful. This contains 10% urea as well as squalane and colloidal oatmeal. And both of these, I mean, all of these actually are unscented. This is a really great option if you have sensitive skin, if you have eczema prone skin, dermatitis prone skin, because that colloidal oatmeal is really calming. And then you get that really nice like slippy feeling that squalane gives you. And urea is also great for the skin barrier. And even though this is a body lotion, it is richer than the Speed Soak, but it doesn't leave heaviness behind. So you can use this and then get dressed without having your pants like stick to your skin, if you know what I mean. So I'm definitely impressed by Soft Services. I still have quite a few products from them to test, including their buffing bar. They have like a mask, a body mask kind of product, as well as a few other things. So stay tuned. And then lastly, I have to include my new favorite perfume of the moment. It's the Diptyque Philosopos perfume. If you're not familiar with this, it is woodsy, it's figgy, but it really is inspired by the whole fig tree. So it actually opens with a stronger woody note. And then as it sinks into the skin, it gets a little bit creamier and muskier, and you get those fig fruity notes that come through towards the end. It just wears incredibly on me. I love the evolution of the scent throughout the day, and I finally feel like I found my signature scent in the Diptyque line after having tried several of them. So that is it for me. I know this is probably a really long favorites video, but again, it was a great month for beauty, and I'm so excited about all of the new things that I got to try, as well as some old favorites. So I would love to hear what your July favorites were. Please let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. I'm gonna go drink some tea now because I'm like losing my voice. My voice is hoarse. So I hope you guys have a great month ahead. Enjoy the last real month, the last full month of summer, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.